Let's go Dolphins! Things are simmering in Miami. Players are being questioned. The coaching staff is making bizarre decisions. And worst of all, it seems Mike McDaniel himself no longer has full control of the locker room. And, meanwhile, Chris Greer remains in charge, even though he's largely responsible for turning this promising roster into a machine of frustration. He should have been fired by now, but unfortunately, he's still there. And look, the situation is much more serious than you might think. Soon, I'll tell you everything I discovered. There are heated changes being considered on the roster, and the desperation for victories is leading the team to make unexpected decisions. But before I continue, like the video if you're a true Miami Dolphins fan. If you follow the team through their wins and losses, like it now and comment, "Go, Dolphins!" My heart bleeds water and orange. I want to see the fervent fans show up. Now hold on tight, because what I have to reveal will make a lot of people furious. NFL Week 8 is almost here, and even though the Miami Dolphins are 1-6, the drama surrounding this team is anything but boring. First, let's talk about the quarterback chaos, because yes, somehow, in a season where the playoffs are slipping further away, the Dolphins are making headlines over who will be QB2. That's right, not QB1, not even a surprise starter. QB2. Mike McDaniel came out and said it's a week-to-week competition between Zach Wilson and rookie Quinn Ewers. Let that sink in. You trade for Zach Wilson, then you bench him. You give Quinn Ewers a shot and he looks shaky at best. Now you're flipping a coin weekly to see who holds the clipboard behind Tua? This is the type of indecision that kills locker room confidence. You can't say this is about development. Zach Wilson is a one-year rental and we all know what he is. Meanwhile, Quinn Ewers needs reps to grow, and instead of giving him a defined role, the coaching staff is playing musical chairs. It's baffling, but that's not all. The injury report brings its own set of concerns. Tight end Darren Waller is out with a pectoral injury and has been placed on IR. McDaniel says it's not season-ending, but with how this season is unfolding, would you even blame Waller if he doesn't return? He's in his 30s, beat up, and this team is basically out of contention. Julian Hill is also ruled out for the game in Atlanta, which leaves Miami with just Tanner Conner and Greg Dulcich at tight end. Look, Dulcich might have potential, especially in red zone situations, but let's be real, this isn't the offensive arsenal Tua needs to dig this team out of a hole. Speaking of missing weapons, Jalen Waddle is thankfully not on the injury report despite missing Thursday's practice with what was labeled hamstring/rest. That's huge because with Waller gone, Tua desperately needs Waddle healthy. But even that feels like putting duct tape on a sinking ship. Now let's get into the real chaos, the offensive line. Jonah Savaiania. He's a second-round pick who has been atrocious. There's no sugarcoating it. He's allowed 21 pressures and 3 sacks with a miserable 2.1 pass-blocking grade. Watch the tape. Every game you'll find him flat on his back while defenders blow past him untouched. And yet, he's still starting. Why? Because the alternatives are just as bad, if not worse. Keon Smith and Daniel Brunskill are the next men up, and neither offer much of an upgrade. So you have to ask yourself, is keeping Jonah out there hurting his development more than helping it? That's a serious conversation this coaching staff refuses to address with urgency. Leaving him out there is like throwing a rookie into shark-infested waters and hoping he learns to swim. And while we're on the topic of defensive shifts, the cornerback position is quietly seeing a shakeup. Rasul Douglas has been the rock at CB1, but Jack Jones? Not so much. He's been inconsistent and his snap count is declining. Meanwhile, guys like Ethan Bonner, Juju Brents, and even Kendall Sheffield are getting opportunities. Storm Duck might also return soon, and Jason Marshall Jr. is working back from IR. This signals that a shakeup at CB2 is not just possible, it's likely. And why not? The season's spiraling, so this is the time to evaluate what you have in young corners like Juju Brents, who came over from Indy and still has untapped potential. Oh, and let's not forget the running back rotation. Jalen Wright, the second year back from Tennessee, has reportedly had a couple of phenomenal weeks of practice. After being inactive for games against the Chargers and Panthers, he suited up last week and could be climbing back into the RB2 role. The guy's a trade candidate, but with Miami's run game inconsistent and the depth chart fluid, don't be surprised if Wright gets more touches this week. Let's pick up right where we left off, because this mess is far from over. Jonah Savaiania continues to be the weakest link on the offensive line, and the question now isn't just if he should be benched, but why hasn't he been already? We're not talking about minor mistakes here. This is weekly failure on a level that actively sabotages the offense. When your left guard is consistently giving up pressure in under 2 seconds, there's no time for Tua to go through his reads, no time for routes to develop, and absolutely no chance to get the ground game going. It's sabotage by negligence. And sure, Keon Smith and Daniel Brunskill aren't world beaters, but what do you have to lose at this point? If Jonah's development is being damaged by being tossed into the fire week after week, then leaving him out there is doing more harm than good. Chris Greer, if you're watching, and let's be honest, you're probably not, you should be answering some serious questions about this second-round pick. But of course, we all know Greer should have been gone years ago. Now let's talk cornerbacks again, because this storyline is building fast. Jack Jones' decline in snaps is clear. You don't rotate in guys like Ethan Bonner, Juju Brents, and even Kendall Sheffield for 6 snaps unless you're unhappy with the starter. The team is clearly experimenting. Storm Duck coming back adds another wrinkle to the equation, and Jason Marshall Jr., the rookie who's been on IR, is now practicing and eligible to return. You're telling me we might get a look at a reshaped secondary while the season's already down the drain? It almost feels like the Dolphins are treating the rest of 2025 as extended preseason, testing players to see who makes it past January. And that's not the worst idea, honestly. Rasul Douglas has been the lone bright spot in that DB room, and with nothing left to lose, why not give Brents or Duck a real shot? Let's evaluate the guys who might actually stick around next season. McDaniel might pretend this is about entertainment, but fans aren't stupid. We see the rebuild hiding behind the curtain. Meanwhile, the offense is limping along. No Darren Waller, no Julian Hill, just Tanner Connor and Greg Dulcich, 2 guys with potential but minimal production. Let's be real, Dulcich was brought in because he might be a red zone mismatch, not because he's a reliable TE1. And Connor? He's a depth piece, not a starter. Yet here we are, going into week 8 with them as our top 2 options at tight end. This is what happens when a front office fails to build real depth. And now with Waller's future in question, tight end becomes another glaring need heading into the offseason. But who trusts Greer to fix it? And then there's the Jalen Wright situation, which has been oddly underreported. This guy went from healthy scratch to potential RB2 in a matter of weeks. McDaniel says he's been great in practice, but let's not forget, this coaching staff buried him early in the season. You can't bench him, trade rumors swirling, and then suddenly try to feature him like it's part of some master plan. It isn't, it's desperation. But Wright could still be an X factor if they actually use him right. He's explosive, physical, and has fresh legs, something the current backfield rotation lacks. But if Miami turns him into a workhorse just to showcase him for a trade, that's short-sighted thinking that sums up the Greer era. Now, we haven't even touched on the quarterback conversation again, because yes, it's still embarrassing that this team is publicly waffling on who the backup should be. McDaniel has called this the best week of practice between Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers. Great, so now we're praising practice squad competition like it's a championship run. Pick a guy and stick with him. The lack of clarity only creates instability, and right now, stability is the one thing this locker room desperately needs. It's week 8. The team is 1-6. The playoffs are a distant dream. What Dolphins fans want now isn't fake optimism or vague quotes about entertainment. We want accountability. We want decisions that show this coaching staff and front office are learning, not flailing. And most importantly, we want to see some hope for the future. Right now, the only thing we're getting is more questions, more rotation, more indecision. So here's where I'll leave you today, because the spotlight is on McDaniel now more than ever. With roster shifts looming, key injuries, and backup quarterback drama stealing headlines, how much of this season's disaster falls on his shoulders? Is McDaniel part of the long-term plan, or just another coach caught in the Greer cycle of mediocrity? Comment below and let me know what you think. Should the Dolphins ride this out with McDaniel, or is it time to look elsewhere? And while you're at it, hit that like button if you're tired of excuses and want real change. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more Dolphins news and updates. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Videos on the screen now. Check it out, and I'll see you there.